The MSDB database has three special roles for securing integration services packages. Each role controls the actions that the members of each role can take on packages. The first one is DB SSIS admin. This provides full permission to enumerate, view, execute, import, change, and delete any and all packages inside the database. Like other admin roles, members of this role have complete control over all packages that are stored in SQL Server. Second role is DB SSIS LTD user, and this is a limited user. It provides access to the user's own packages, letting members of this role enumerate, view, export, delete, and change their own packages. In addition, they can enumerate all packages and import new packages. It's a limited role that prevents users from working with other users' packages. And then the third one is DB SSIS operator. This provides access to enumerate, view, execute, and export all packages. No permissions are given to manage, delete, import, or make design changes. This is a fine role to assign a user to who needs to execute packages on a server. And then keep in mind that anyone with SQL Server sysadmin privileges have full rights and access to the packages stored in MSDB because they have all permissions on all database objects. So there's nothing about these special roles that eliminate those high-level permissions. And just one historical note. Both the name of the table where MSDB stores integration services packages and the name of the roles changed in SQL Server 2008. Back in SQL Server 2005, the table was dbo.sys DTS packages 90, and the roles were DB DTS admin, DB DTS LTD user, and DB DTS operator. So Microsoft is gradually getting away from the DTS name of integration services predecessor. But DTS still appears in an awful lot of places, so it's a very slow process. All right, now there are two roles available for each package, and this is a layer that kind of overlies all of this other stuff. It's the reader role and the writer role. Members of the reader role can execute, view, and export packages. Members of the writer role can perform administrative tasks, doing things like updating a package with newly released versions, delete a package, manage security, and stop package execution. The writer role is essentially an administrative role in the context of the package. Okay, so packages use database roles from the MSDB database. Initially, the reader role includes the package creator as well as members of the DB SSIS admin and DB SSIS operator database roles. And then, similarly, initially the writer role includes the package creator and members of the DB SSIS admin role. In both cases, you can change the list of database roles assigned to the reader and write roles. Okay, you're going to need to perform a few steps in order to set up a user in SQL Server to access integration services packages. The general steps necessary to give a user access to packages are to first create a login. And you need to map the user's Windows account group into a SQL Server login or add a Windows user account as a login to SQL Server, same as the database engine. You need to create a user. Create a user account in the MSDB database for the account that's linked to the server login. And then you add the user to a role. And for that, you use the appropriate MSDB fixed database role for integration services. You can also create a custom role and grant it permissions or assign it to one of the integration services roles. To explore how to authorize integration services users in SQL Server, I'm going to import the Classify Rows package to SQL Server. Then I'll explore its storage in MSDB and create a user that has access to the package. To do all this, I'll work with Management Studio, opening a connection both to integration services and the database engine to perform various tasks. All right, so the first thing I need to do is run Management Studio. I'll right-click on it and select Run as Administrator. And I'll connect to the local instance of integration services. All right, I'll come down here to Stored Packages, expand the view, and I'll right-click on MSDB and select Import Package. And in this case, the package is located in the file system because the scenario is that I just finished developing it using SQL Server Data Tools. So I'll navigate to that path, Security, and I want Classify Rows. Double-click on that, and I'll leave the package name as Classified Rows, as well as the default setting for the protection level. But I could change the protection level at this point if I wanted to. And I'll click on OK. All right, now if we drill down in here, you can see that now we have a Classify Rows package that's installed in the MSDB database. Now, Integration Services automatically assigns reader and writer roles to new packages that you import. In order to examine the default settings, I need to right-click on that new package and select Package Roles from the pop-up list. So there's the package name, and in fact the path to it. So I can put it further down in a folder hierarchy, but this is at the root of MSDB. And there you can see the roles that are assigned to the reader role and the writer role. All right, so you can see, if you drop down this list here, is that the default is that DB SSIS admin, DB SSIS operator, and the creator of the package are automatically assigned to the reader role. And the writer role, DB SSIS admin and the creator of the package are automatically assigned to. But with both of these, you can assign different roles to the reader and writer role. Okay, so I'm not going to make any changes here to that default, but you can if you need to. Okay, now I'm going to open up another connection, this time to the database engine. Localhost, localworks, machine name, and so forth. All right, and as you can see, I can have connections open to Integration Services and the database engine open simultaneously. So I want to take a look at that MSDB database. So I'll go down into System Databases and MSDB. I'll go down into Tables and expand System Tables. System Database, so it only has System Tables. All right, now I'm going to scroll down because I want to find the DBO SIS SSIS packages table right there. So I'll right-click on that and select the top 1,000 rows. I'm a sysadmin, so I can get access to all of the objects. And make sure right there is the Classify Rows, the package that I just installed. And here you can see the kind of information that's stored along with the package that is saved in MSDB. And keep in mind, this is using the package deployment model, and so everything is by package. So you have a GUID ID, there's a description, I didn't provide one, but that's where it would appear. It has the create date, folder ID, owner ID, that presumably refers to me, package data, and then various properties that indicate the state of the package within the MSDB database. Okay, so that's where the package is stored because I opted to save it in SQL Server. I read it from the file system. I could have read it from SQL Server, some other location, but imported from the file system and it's stored within MSDB. All right, so now let's explore how to authorize a user to access packages stored in the MSDB database. So I'm going to come back over here to Object Explorer, clean this up a little bit. In fact, I'll collapse that. And we'll come down here to the Server Instances Security node. And be clear, this is the Database Instances Security node, not the security node of MSDB. So not that one right there. Okay, so I'm going to create a new login. Whoops, I'll make it a little bit easier, I'll right-click on Login there. And I'm going to create a login with the name SSIS Tester. For this, I'll use SQL Server Authentication, and I'll put in a reasonably secure password. Now, just for testing purposes, I'm going to unselect this so the user doesn't have to change the password next use. And then I'm going to change the default database to MSDB, because this user is going to be involved with integration services, and so I'll just go ahead and set the default database there, so that's the initial context for the user. Alright, the next thing I need to do is map this user to a user in the database, and I'll select the MSDB database. As you can see, it automatically creates a user with the same name as the login that I'm creating. I can change the name here, just like any other user in a user database, but I'm going to leave it as it is. Alright, then in the database role membership for MSDB, I can scroll down here a bit, and here are the SSIS roles: SSIS admin, limited user, and operator. So I'm going to make this user an operator, and I'll click on OK, and that creates that new login for the server and automatically gives that user, or that login, permissions within the MSDB database. Alright, at this point the user SSIS tester now has permissions to enumerate, view, execute, and export all packages that are stored in MSDB. So next, I'll test to make sure that that's really the case. So I'm going to press the Windows button and search for the execute package utility. So I'm starting this with no context whatsoever. If I were to instead double-click on a package that's stored out in the file system, some of the parameters of this dialog box get preset from that context, but I've given it no context whatsoever. Alright, so I'm going to execute that package, and it's stored in SQL Server. Server name, I'll use local for this. And I'm going to use SQL Server Authentication because I'm testing that tester user. And I'll put in the password that I assigned to it. Hopefully that's correct. And then I can click on the Browse button here. And notice that because SSIS Tester has the ability to enumerate packages within the package source that I specify, I can see the classify rows. I only have two packages stored there, classify rows and deployment. So I want classify rows. And that builds the path to that package. Alright, that's everything I need to do to set up execution. So I'll click the execute button to make sure that the tester can actually execute that package. Output column, what does it say? Is not subsequently used. Okay, so there's a couple columns that I don't use in the further processing, but otherwise the package executed to completion. So that indicates that the SSIS tester has the proper permissions to execute this package. And as we saw earlier, also has permission to enumerate the packages, because I could see which packages were available and select them within the execute package utility.